I'm the other guy. I've seen the evolution of Mark over the decades. We first met back in, early 94. He just got out of law school, and man, he wanted to explain it to us. We had it all wrong. We weren't hardcore enough. Well, he had a big impact on me. I'm the pirate. Donna's going to put some books over. We have Letters of Captain Mark, Mark in Reprisal, Pirates Without Borders. A lot of these issues that Mark has talked about, we have detailed in letters against the Crown. So we'll leave those over there, and that's for you guys to peruse, and tomorrow you can share or give you something to do in the meantime, and you get the hardcore position, so I don't have to tell you about it now. Mark has evolved into the argument is opinion. It's general public opinion, the moral question. That's where we need to be. It's where a lot of activism is the most effective. It's when you got a mass population just understands, reasonableness, right and wrong. How do you define that? Well, this is what Maj Toure has done. Maj, Black Guns Matters. He spoke here last year. I had him on my radio show. We spent a lot of time talking about that. We went long, kicked off other guests. Maj, stay on, man. We're going to talk about it. Out of Philadelphia, where you have a large black community, you have an inner city. We have a lot of libertarian friends that live there at No Maj. Probably James Babb, you probably heard of. James. Good friends. I'll be seeing them this June in New Hampshire at the Porcupine Freedom Festival. And what Maj has done is made the opinion of an entire group of people, whether they're minority or just, poor, they've been abused. You have the Crown coming in and saying, you're not allowed to defend yourself. We're going to do it for you. Trust us. For someone to come in and make the argument that it is okay, it is moral for them to be able to defend themselves and, in fact, have been disarmed as racism because they didn't want them to have the power. For someone to be able to share to an entire community that has impacted the country, if not the world, I think that's enormously powerful, and we need to hear the story of Taj Murray, Black Guns Matter. I'm sorry, what did I say? Yeah, I'm sorry. Did I get it right one time?
Yeah, you did. Good luck. No worries. Everybody does that. First, thank y'all for having me again. Can everybody hear me? Better? Okay. Not yet. Better this way? I'm going to move it around a bit. Better? Can you hear me now? Better? It's okay. I think I might use the mic, or is that better? Yeah, I'm going to just do the mic. I'm good? No? What about now? It's clearly better. All right. So it's going to be informal to a certain extent. I'm good on the clicker. Boom. So yeah, that's the organization. I'm going to yell at y'all. I'm going to say things. We're going to cuss every year. Well, this is the second year, but I know there's like good people here, and you guys and women don't cuss. So you have to cuss once. You don't have to, but you can. Okay, we're set up now. So Black Guns Matter, we're an organization. First, you got to pick which cuss words you're going to actually use. Now, I'm serious. There's a reason for this. Are we comfortable with extreme level of profanity one time, mid-ground, or just something extremely safe? Extreme? Okay, you pick it. Fuck. Wait, is there? Where's the baby at? Baby sleep? Okay, earmuffs. So on 3, everyone has to say that word. There's a reason for it. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, me, right? Now, there's a reason for that. We've created these silos for ourselves, these perspectives, this is what I believe, it's a staunch position, I'm sticking to it, and you create a space where you isolate yourself, right? You can't change then, you can't adapt, you can't evolve. So the whole breakdown here today is going to be about what we've learned in regards to the Second Amendment community, as well as in regards to what we call or identify ourselves with as the freedom community, right? Dinosaurs could not evolve. Short hands, right? It was cool until meteors hit. They couldn't make fire. There's no more dinosaurs. Giraffes, right? Foliage is up there. They had short necks. Got to stretch. Necks get longer. Giraffes are still around, right? So we're going to go through a few of these positions of what we need to do if we identify ourselves as the freedom community. Now, if you do not identify yourself as a freedom fighter or a member of the freedom community, raise your hand because you're a part of the enslaved or enslavement community. Just ID yourself. There's nothing wrong with it. We won't judge you. We'll make fun of you later, but it's your position and you're welcome to have it. All right? So we're going to go over a few things. You're going to evolve or die. Okay? Everybody cool with that? Does anybody know what this symbol is right here? DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. It's the very essence of the thing that makes you what you are, right? If we're saying we're part of the freedom community, we have to ask ourselves very simple questions. What is the makeup of what we are as the freedom community? Now, again, I'm a gun guy in the sense of guns defend the things that we value or our freedoms or the things that we say we make ourselves up of, right? But to isolate it just to the gun, just to the Second Amendment community, we're kind of doing ourselves a disservice. That's just the tool. That's just a tool. That's all it is. I believe this. You may not. You might not want me to believe that. I want to have the means to defend what I believe in. So guns is one portion of it, but the bigger portion is how do we protect our freedoms and what we are made of? So what do you think? Nobody in here said they're part of the enslavement crew, right? So what do you think makes up the freedom community? This is going to be interactive. The first time that I say it, nobody wants to throw their hand up. Except for the lady that wanted to say fuck. Anybody in here? What do you think makes up one of the elements of your DNA if you've identified yourself as a part of the freedom community? Protection for your own property. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of property. That part didn't make it over to America. Anyway, go ahead. Compassion for justice. One more. We need a woman. See that? That's a part of our DNA. The men went first. Might be a little bit insensitive. I need a woman. I'm not moving forward until, listen, y'all got to shake this whole nervous thing out. I'm not moving forward. We all family. We all part of the same community, the freedom and liberty community. That's it. We need a woman to say what she thinks makes up, because like life doesn't happen without women. Get where we're going? Right? So we need a woman to say exactly what happens, what you think is a part of the DNA of the freedom community. It's interesting. Evolution is the process whereby creatures compete, adapt, and survive in a changing environment by changing themselves. For some reason, right at this moment, none of the women in there at this moment, when there was a time for every woman in here to adapt, no woman said one thing. Strike one. Right? If we don't evolve, if we don't change, if we don't adapt, we will die. That is it. There is, and I hate to say the word they, there is an opposition to the things that we believe in this room. That is what we're going to call they for right now. They may not have the same understanding, may have not read the same books, may have not had the same study, may have not have access to the same information. So they created a they, or i.e. a separation. If you don't reach out to that they, which is actually you, and give them more information to defend these freedoms, they are under the belief that the freedoms that you enjoy should not be there anymore. They may not be as enlightened as you are. So, in these spaces, we have to evolve to make sure that we're accessing those people, giving them information, and making them make more enlightened, well-informed decisions. It's not force, it's inform. But if you can't get out of your silo to even recognize that and then address it, we die. Does anybody know who this woman is portraying right here? If you had to guess, it has to be a woman this time. It has to be a woman. Who do you think that this woman, this actress, is portraying? The entire Underground Railroad? Don't remember her name. The Underground Railroad wasn't a woman. That was like bisexual. It was a thing. Harriet Tubman. Why Harriet Tubman? The gun. The protecting people. The woman. So we're going to take it back into my organization, Black Guns Matter. Firearm safety, training, conflict resolution, de-escalation, political education, and evolving. This woman right here, this actress is, she's portraying Harriet Tubman in an upcoming film. Why is Harriet Tubman not the shining leader or symbol of the Second Amendment in America? Because she's black. That's one reason. How many women said anything when I said we need a woman? Why did only men jump to the forefront when the first questions were asked? Now you see where we're going? Conditioning, environment, structure, staying in one spot. Top tier Hall of Fame, woman fighting tyranny with a gun at a time that nobody in this room, to my knowledge, exposed to tyranny that nobody in this room will ever see again. Maybe, hopefully, if we do this right. Right? Why is she not the symbol of the Second Amendment in America? Sexism, racism, classism, the isms that stop the evolution of us going in a proper direction. Never mind the fact that if the women are not involved, we all die. That's fact. That's fact. Anybody know any of Harriet Tubman's nicknames? A guy this time. We'll make it easier. A guy, because we say a lot of stuff even if we're wrong. Moses. Well, you can't no more. You like the other black dude. Like, you can't. But he's right, though. Moses. Did y'all know that she was a general? She went back, joined, and helped lead Union soldiers. Why don't we know that? Who's they? Us. The people who wrote history. Women. It's messed up. It's messed up. Saying this to say, if we aren't, now just in that few simple slides, again, we're going back to the DNA of the person, the DNA of the freedom community, the things that we've identified. Nobody in here is saying, hey, I'm a part of the enslavement crew. We're going to keep that at the forefront of our minds. We've all identified ourselves as members of the freedom community. This is a person, through whatever reason, and we'll get to that, through whatever reason, this person, this woman that is the top tier example of what should be a part of or a fiber in the DNA of the freedom community, we don't even talk about her. Devolving, not evolving. Let's move forward, though. I grew up like a neglected weed, ignorant of liberty, having no experience of it. Then I was not happy or contented. If you do not have liberty, it's like what Mark was saying. If you don't have freedom, like there's certain things that don't flourish. You can't expand. You can't evolve because you're in that box. That's one of her quotes. Now, you all know the story of, Harriet Tubman. She kept a burner on her. We're going to fight for liberty. Once she got a taste of it, this is something that's serious. I'm so aware of this liberty that I've experienced, that I'm aware that you are not aware of. I'm willing to take you to a space and even threaten you with physical violence, violating the non-aggression principle, right? Because I know an end result. At that time when even reading is something that, no, you don't even tell people to read. You understand? That's evolution. That's evolution. During the time where there is no freedom. There is no liberty for you. These are the scenarios that we are faced with presently. You know why? Because it's no longer just isolated to one class group, social group, racial group, sex group. If we don't recognize, adapt, and identify, recognize, and adapt, we die. Evolution step one. There's going to be 3 of these. Reproduction. A key aspect of life is what we create through more life through reproduction. Without enough children to propagate generations, a species will die out. Bam. See that picture? When we took the picture, everybody was like, "Oh, congratulations." It wasn't my baby, right? This is at our family day class at Black Guns Matter. That's a good friend of mine, his wife. She was ready to go, ready to burst at any given moment, right? And there were face painters and streamers. This is actually at a gun range. It's at a gun range in Philadelphia, a very anti-gun, anti-freedom city. Ironically, it's the birthplace of America. They devolved, right? This young lady right here, literally, this child, since its creation, has been steeped in freedom, firearms, safety, knowledge, conflict resolution, and de-escalation. Literally. Literally. Creating a space from that mother to the space where there is not a time that this child presently thinks of anything other than liberation, other than self-defense, other than freedom, other than liberty. It's possible. But it has to start with women. Reproduction. Any questions that y'all have about any of these things? And please disagree. This is not a lecture. This is a conversation. I disagree with that, Maj. I do not believe that. I see that differently. There is no limitation. Toss your hand up. And if you're right, I'll go. You're right. Actually, Mark did that for me a year or so ago in Avondale. He was a speaker at azfirearms.com. And the concept of bail being ransom, I was like, yeah, you know, you go to jail, you pay your bail, and you stay out until you go and you get your money back. And he's like, well, that's ransom. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And I switched right in the middle of me giving a presentation. So I'm saying this to you. You may give me one of those moments where I can evolve. So in this space and everybody else in the room, the things that you have questions about, disagree with, please do not wait. Throw your hand up. Say, hey, I disagree with that. All right? So boom. Real quick. First top left corner. That's Marley. Young woman. Marley's the granddaughter of Rhonda Ezell. Rhonda Ezell is a woman that fought and beat 2 federal cases in the state of Illinois in regards to Chicago. Because up until Rhonda beat those 2, filed those cases and won, you could not have a shooting range or a gun store in the city limits of Chicago. Now, why on earth would you not want the people of Chicago to have the means to defend themselves lawfully? Why not? Devolve. So Marley's her granddaughter. Marley at this time was a 6-year-old shooter. Top right corner. The guy in the middle right there, his name's King Erner. He's huge on social media, right? Good friend of mine. He is a felon. State fed time. A lot of time in jail. One of the best dudes that I know. He runs a thing called the Honor Your Life campaign. Do you know what he has in common with Harriet Tubman? They're both, based on this definition that we've accepted, they're both criminals. Everything that Harriet Tubman was doing was a crime. Everything that Dr. Martin Luther King was doing at that time was a crime. Criminal. Time to realign our perception on some of these words that we just tossed. He runs a youth group. These are some of the young people from that youth group. We sat down with those young men, dealt with them about conflict resolution. We don't have to talk about guns. We can talk about the concept of freedom. To evolve their mentality before it devolves. Bottom here. Young people, instructor that's in Boston, brought some students up from Boston. He's actually a teacher. This is at Temple University. Same concept. Shared that information with him. Didn't have a firearm. The concept is freedom. Group in the middle. These young people run a radio station that they've created and produced on their own. Young people. Freedom. The concept. Reproduction. From womb up. This young lady right here is working to be a Olympic shooter. Now, if you see this picture and all of these pictures before, let's be completely honest. We all have biases, if that's a word. We all at certain times have been biased. These are things that are stopping our evolution in the freedom community. This right here, that's that same young lady that's her goal is to be in the Olympics. This young man right here is a range safety officer. Is anybody in here anti-gun? Right, it's a libertarian room. Everybody's pro-gun, right? That young man right there is an 18-year-old range safety officer. A range safety officer is someone that, when you're at the range, they make sure that everything's safe and responsible, right? Just because you're a beginner doesn't mean you don't have somebody helping you out and assisting and making sure everything's safe. 18 years old. We do not move forward if younger people are not indoctrinated, informed, and giving the information to help them evolve in alignment with our freedoms. We die. It's going to be a pervasive theme today. Who's that? Everybody knew it. The white people knew it. Right? Right. Now, peep this though, right? We're talking about, the first one was reproduction. Now we're talking about evolution. Is anybody in here not a black person? And I'll bring up the reason why I'm isolating you guys to race. Notice I did that. I'm going to say a reason why I'm doing that. I need a white woman, you, to tell me what was Malcolm X's name before he changed it to Malcolm X. Think on it. I'll come back to you. I need another white male to tell me what was Malcolm X's name before he changed it to Malcolm X. You can't get the answer from him. See? Bias. Does anybody know? Can't remember. Okay. Black male. Malcolm Little, whose father was a minister. Why was it so difficult? We all in the same room. We all about liberty. What was the conditioning? What was the separation that none of the white males or females knew that answer? It's not an attack. I'm just being very clear. That cringe moment, oh my God, he's bringing up race. It's not an attack. We are all same brothers and sisters in here about freedom and liberty. I'm sharing something with you that there is a deliberate attempt to make sure that we are not evolving together. That's what it is. Bonus point question. Before Malcolm was murdered, because that's what happened, he changed his name again after he went to Mecca and came back because he had a very aggressive stance towards white people. He was misinformed. He was, again, alive during a time where there's types of brutality that nobody in this room will ever see, hopefully, if we do this freedom thing right. After that post-Mecca trip, he changed his name again. Does anybody know what Malcolm's name was before he was murdered? It was no longer Malcolm X. Y'all got to know this one. He's on the stamp, right? Nope. Super wrong. Now let me tell you why that's super wrong. Elijah Muhammad was the person that gave him information that helped him change his name to Malcolm X. Can't remember. El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz. The reason why he did that was because he had found a different identity for himself. He evolved. He went from street thug. His nickname was Detroit Red. Me. Reformed scumbag. Me. Scumbag. Let's get them. We're robbing them. That's what we doing. Scumbag. Reformed scumbag. Just didn't get caught. Right? Changed from that to learned literally the entire dictionary in jail. Literally. Don't believe me. I'm not making it up, but don't believe me. Research it. Hop on DuckDuckGo and put it in the search engine. I didn't say Google for a reason. You'll thank me later. Okay? Evolved again. Very angry, frustrated being because of real things that happened. Evolved again. Evolution. That's the second part. If you're not careful, the media will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. So, for example, again, we're going to isolate it outside of this particular time period because like Mark said, we are very comfortable, especially in America. You got like a Starbucks across the street. like Wi-Fi. We walking around with like the Library of Alexandria in our back pocket, right? So we're going to talk about a time, let's say around that time when there was actual physical brutality, like as a standard, as a law, as a rule. If you violate this rule, there's somebody with a gun to come potentially kill you. The rule is don't teach black people to read, right? Don't let women vote, right? Like in certain places, like till like 2 weeks ago, don't let women drive. I'm paraphrasing with 2 weeks, but you get my point. My point there is we're talking about a time frame to just make everyone have an understanding. If you're not careful, the media will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. Those pictures of Malcolm with that rifle, they're iconic now, but during that time, he was labeled a terrorist. Dr. King was labeled a terrorist. It's not me saying it to make it funny. So we had to evolve or devolve, like Malcolm did 3 times right in front of our eyes. So he variated. He changed. Step 2. A critical element of reproduction is that there is variation from one generation to the next. No individual is genetically identical to a parent. Variation is good for helping cope with changing conditions. Malcolm, there's a reason why he was right there at that slide. I'm a scumbag. I go to jail. I'm exposed to new information. I adapt and evolve. I come back. I make a productive member of society out of myself and change my environment. Clean other scumbags up. I then remove hatred and frustration because I'm seeing the world in a bigger view. He literally evolves, changes, and literally changes his entire being of what he is as a freedom fighter. These are real-time examples of people, or historical examples of people that we can pull from that shows this. Again, what is the definition, what is the makeup, what is the DNA of us as the freedom community? If we cannot answer that question, you don't know where you're going. You're going to die, period. That's not like a scare tactic. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm telling you the experiences. People evolve, we get better. There's better freedoms around. People devolve, you're in line for like bread. What is this right here? I need a woman first. What is this right here? Bam, that's context clues, but great. It's a Black Guns Matter event. Where would you say this is at? Somebody's home. What else? Yep. What else? It's a gun range. Does that look like what the Second Amendment community you've been told is what the Second Amendment community is? Not at all. You've been told that the Second Amendment community is 40-year-old white dudes with NRA-like T-shirts and like big beards and all of those different things. And it's like a Klan rally. You've been told that. It is not true. It's not true. When you're going through some of these people, see that tall guy? This guy actually does fit the description. Right? That's my friend John. How many people are familiar with Hickok 45? That's his son. 4 million YouTube subscribers, shooter, all of the information about guns, all of that other stuff. You can pick all of these people out here. There's a hip-hop artist, Tone Trump is in there. Hank Strange is in there. He's a shooter. Best of Vest. Shaneen Allen. Tisma's in there. She runs the National Shooting Sports Foundation, pretty much. Point being is, this is not, this is a variation. This is not what the conditioning or the environment has told us, or maybe even historically represented what the Second Amendment or the freedom or the gun community looks like, because they're all intertwined. You cannot even like guns, but understand the freedom associated with having them. Our classes, we say, if you don't want to own a gun, that's great. None for you, more for me. Awesome. But the information, the choice to decide, that freedom, that liberty, that's standard operational procedure. But in order to change and evolve that, we have to do things to show truths. To show This is an actual better representation of not only the freedom or Second Amendment community, but this is actually what America looks like. This guy's Mexican. That guy's white. He owns Stoddard's, the gun range we was having it at. She's Polynesian. I don't know what Isaac is. I don't know. He's just clear. My point is, there is a representation that you've been told, just like we named certain people, white males and white females didn't know certain portions of them, and the black people did. But these are all freedom fighters. All of them. What is this? Some kind of hunting thing? What else? Moose Lodge. Gun store. And you know what it is. Yeah. That's where I first met Mark, actually. That's an actual Black Guns Matter event. Who are the shooters in there? Who are the beginners? Can you point them out? A major part of staying alive and adapting in hostile environments is the ability to camouflage. So if we have now I'm talking to my white guys in here. It's not, mass media will tell you that, especially Mike, okay, you got a bald head. Mass media says you're a skinhead. Mass media says that. Like, and we'll have people believe in that. Never met him before, never like talked to him, any of that. So just as important as it is for the freedom community to move forward, white guys have to understand that there is deliberate attempts to make you look scary on this side, just like there's been deliberate attempts to make me look scary on this side. Because they, right, don't want working together, like Bacon's Rebellion. You'll get it later. You guys will hop on DuckDuckGo and check that one out too. The Black Panther Party was, how many people have been told that they hated white people? Did you know that there were members of the Black Panther Party that were white? Did you know the majority of the leadership positions in the original Black Panther Party were women? Who told us the opposite? And why? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not here because most of y'all are like white in the room, right? And I'm going, oh, white people are so awesome. Nah, y'all have kind of been like an unstoppable force on the negative side at points too, right? People do what they do. My point there is, if your thought process and what you've identified with as liberty and freedom, like the people in this room, you have to take a moment and think, why have we been compartmentalized this way? This is AZ. This is actually in Avondale. This is AZ Firearms. Danny and Cheryl are really, really good people. The gun community is filled with scumbags. It's filled with horrible people. As a person in the gun community, there are horrible people in the gun industry. Horrible. Horrible. Right? From the moral perspective. Right? With that being the case, I run across maybe a few people that are like good people. This couple, this married couple is one of those. The beautiful thing about this is you can't tell what it is. You just know that people are in there learning something, at least it looks like, and somebody like supported like shooting deer or something. My point though is there needs to be a certain level of transparency as well as camouflage. The reason for the transparency is the openness. The reason for the camouflage is because there's they outside that do not want to share or expose those freedoms currently. Okay, this picture here. Who is the cop? Who is the felon? And who is the single dad? All right, I'll make it easier for you. Bonus point. Who's the guy that runs the Second Amendment organization? Me. Boom, you got that one right. So who's the cop, who's the criminal, who's the single dad? Cop's got the shades, good context clues. What he's doing right there is he's using his bias. We all have biases. We all profile, right? That's how we stay alive, right? He's using those context clues and his bias to, okay, the cop's got shades. That makes sense. Who's the felon? Must be in the hoodie. Must be in the hoodie. Now here's the drawback. 3 of us got on hoodies. Who's the business owner? You don't know. You got to figure it out. But saying this to say, this is actually, none of these guys are felons. None of them. None of them. The guy in the middle is the business owner. The guy right here is the single dad. My point is, the fact that it was this difficult to even come up, you had great context clues though, Mike. The point is, we don't know. We shouldn't know. We freeze our biases for the moment until information is presented. What is this person's background? There are things that have been deliberately told to us all to make us all isolate and not interact. That stops our evolution. So, well, I was doing this. Boom.
All right, so look, y'all, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do an impromptu gun safety class right here. All right?
This is a gun safety class. It's only 1 minute. Look at this real quick. Yeah, I don't know what the volume is.
Now, you just muzzled him. He's muzzling his own shoe. Your finger's on the trigger. Everybody's dead. His is not. So that's one of the rules that you broke offside. All right, so what we got right here is some replica firearms. Feds that's looking, it doesn't matter. This is safe and this is responsible and it's right on the street. So these are not actual firearms, okay? You want to treat this like a lightsaber, like on Star Wars, right? If you ever go to the range, you see a lot of the range safety officers, they doing a lot of this. They moving, they putting the gun up this way, they handing it to each other this way. So this muzzle, if this is a lightsaber like in Star Wars, anything that it crosses is going to cut. You want to treat it the same way. So that's...
Now, where is this at? Where is this at? In the hood. It is. It's right. So on that corner right there, I used to sell drugs right on that corner. That's Broad and Lehigh in Philadelphia. Right? We adapt. There's only one gun range in urban parts of Philadelphia. Everybody doesn't know where it's at. And the conditioning, we've been told in our demographic, oh man, if you go to the gun range, the cops going to be there, they're going to lock you up, they're going to wait. Fear. Fear. They're trying to implant a conversation of fear into our DNA. Why? Because urban America has the largest concentration of bodies, of people. Where's the most gun control at? Big cities. Is it making Chicago safer? Is it making New Orleans safer? Who actually has far more of a higher homicide rate per capita? Is it making New Orleans safer? No. But at the same time saying we're going to isolate and make sure that this conversation about freedom with the tool associated with on defending freedom is not had in that area. So what did we do? We adapt. We start doing gun-free safety classes right there. I don't care if you don't want the gun. I do care that if your child comes across a firearm while they're at the park, they know what to do and what not to do. You don't have to have a gun. This isn't about you got to be an expert marksman, but you can be an expert at safety. These are things of, again, adapt, change. Where's the classroom? Is there a classroom in this picture, in this video? It's the street. The only thing we need is the people and the tool and the information. Anybody know who this picture is a depiction of? Haha, nobody's going to know this. Somebody did know. Toussaint. Toussaint Louverture. Do you know what Toussaint was infamous for? Revolution in Haiti. But he's talking about Haiti. That's not America. I thought that the Second Amendment was only for Americans. Is the Second Amendment a government-given right, or is it a human right? It's a human right. So is that isolated just to America? Mark said something because America's so special. That's why we got the Second Amendment, because it's just like, boom. God loves like America and nowhere else. Right? Toussaint was in a space where, again, fighting for liberation. The question becomes, why is it this yet another person that is not put on the forefront of someone fighting for their liberation or freedom? Why? Whatever defamation of my character my enemies are spreading about me, I do not feel the need to justify myself toward them. While discrediting obliges me to remain silent, my duty compels me to prevent them from doing any more harm. We don't got to talk about it. We don't have to argue about it. We just do the thing. We just infuse information that supports liberation. Now, in that scenario, he was fighting for liberation from, the French and Haiti, right? Fundamentally, there is no difference between someone fighting for that liberation or somebody fighting for their liberation of thought. I want the ability to say what I want and then have the means to defend what I say. That's it. I'm going to handle my thing over here. You can handle your thing over there. Respectfully. If that's the makeup of what we're saying is about the freedom community. Last one, selection. A critical factor for survival of prey is the ability to outwit, escape, and kill predators. Now that sounds very violent. It sounds violent. How was America founded? Y'all can't, genocide. Wow, that's a strong word. Might sound a little true, though. Might sound a little true. This is, yes, in short words, yes. On top of that, after even the genocide, right, it's, hey, 1775, hey, guys, we want you to turn those rifles in. Because, we get you guys are colonies and all of that, but the whole rifle thing, we don't know. 1775. 1776, we kind of don't want to give you rifles back. We want these. This is the thing that we're on now. We have the means to defend our value system. British, no, give us those rifles. They shot them. Shot them. It could have went left. George and the guys, it could have went completely left. But they shot him. The potential to a critical factor for survival of prey is the ability to outwit, escape, and I'm going to throw potentially kill predators. You have to ask yourself with this libertarian perspective, with this freedom-based perspective, there's a lot of cliches, there's a lot of cool memes and all that other stuff, right? Give me liberty or give me death. That's not just like a cool t-shirt. That is a thought process. That is a value system. You have to find out what your personal level of commitment to that is. If that's not where it is, do not say that anymore. There are people that do not want you to have that right to defend just what you believe in. So, in the spirit of going into places and adapting and applying the information, I'm not killing this guy on the steps of the Supreme Court. That's not happening. But what we are doing is what you have to be able to do is be in spaces where it is hostile. Your value system, it doesn't have to be negative, nor does it have to be adversarial in the sense of violent. But you do have to go into places where people may not agree with you. Hostile territory. This right here, this young man right here, I don't know how. Either he just looks really young or he just drinks a lot of water, but he works for the NSA. This guy right here, lie to you not. This was at the 10-year anniversary of Heller versus DC, right? And this guy's out there telling us that the government, law enforcement and military should be the only people that have firearms. Literally told me that. Hostile environment. So we exchange perspective. I believe in what I believe in, and the data, information, and perspective that I have is stronger because it's from a freedom perspective. It's stronger than what you're presenting because it's not me telling you you have to have guns. It's you telling me that we should not, and hopefully you won't have guns. I'm not violating you, but you're going to violate my choice. I'm going to win that all day, but you can't win that all day if you're not even going into that room because you're like, those people don't think like me. What is the possibility that those people that don't think like you just don't have the information that you have? And if you respectfully present your thought process, your evolution, your freedom DNA, right? What are the chances that that person goes, I never looked at it like that. It's no different than, again, Mark said to me, bail is ransom. That makes sense. Okay, I'm adapting. That, I do not have the monopoly on that thought process of objectivity. None of us does. When you present it to, what we call the other side, they, the left, the libtards, or whatever, offensive slang that we come up for other people. When you do that, you trigger their DNA, their defense mechanism. And there's no room for dialogue. But you have to be able to go in that room and have that conversation. This right here this is John Goldstein. He's an excellent lawyer for the NRA. The young lady next to him is Shira Goodman. She runs Operation Ceasefire Pennsylvania. That is a anti-gun group. Literally. They'll say it's about safety. It's about, saving the children. Factually, the data proves that that's not accurate. It's not what you do. Right? Very anti-gun. Nice person. Next to her is Captain Healy. He's a captain detective the Philadelphia Police Department. He was kind of in between. He was, I'm around so much negligence and death because of firearms. I don't know if people in urban America should have firearms. He was torn about those particular freedoms. I still have to go on that panel and have that discussion in an anti-gun environment. You are armed with the information, the data, the thought process of liberty and freedom, and you have to articulate that in that room. This is Vice. Completely, she heard her. Oh yeah, completely anti-freedom, anti-gun agenda. This was a debate with, I forget her name, but she was the vice president of a gun violence prevention something. It's a bunch of acronyms, letters, that means we want your guns, but we're lying about what we're calling this. It's just what it is. So this guy right here, if you've ever seen him, he has a show on Vice where he smokes weed everywhere. Like underwater and scuba equipment and all that other stuff. And his name's Krishna. He was the mediator. But they left it up to the audience over Facebook. Vice's Facebook platform decided, okay, they'll ask this question to Maj. They'll present it to the other young lady. Overwhelmingly, we won. The people decided. So many gun guys were like, man, don't go do Vice, man. Don't go do that show. Don't go on the New York Times. They're anti-gun. They're anti-freedom because you are not doing your job and sharing the information. You're looking at them as adversarial, as opposed to I can present information that you don't know of. Are you going to turn everybody? No. But you're going to get, what was it, Gretzky? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. The conversation is freedom, liberty. The firearm is the tool, and you have to be willing to say, yeah, if you don't want a gun, that's fine too. I'm gonna skip over this video.
You get shot at.
No, getting hit.
It doesn't matter. Getting shot at.
Wait. You can't say that.
No, it doesn't.
It's gonna probably stop on its own. I'm gonna skip over this video just in the interest of time. But I just want to real quick leave y'all with this. Whenever you're looking at changing minds, consider the process of evolution with questions such as, what partners do you need? How can you get them? So let's go over those. How many people in here are normally floating through the hood, normally? None of you. Well, 1, 2, right? Now, when I'm saying the hood, you've been convinced that this is an area or a neighborhood that's isolated and not a part of yours. It's not true. It's not true. It's just a little bit further than where you live. Just like where you live is a little bit further than where we live. That's it. But if they can continue to separate that and make sure that it looks like, well, that's them over there and that's us over here, it's the Tower of Babel. You're just babbling. Nobody's communicating, right? So, what partners do you need? I might know a guy. You need liaisons. You need information to say, yo, you should listen. You know how many gun guys are like, oh my God, I was trying to tell so many people from your neighborhood this, but they would not listen to me. Yeah, because those people are still victims of that same conditioning that you are. That all of the white people in here didn't know Malcolm's name before he changed it to X or after he changed it from X. It's conditioning on both sides, and you have to find liaisons. How can you get them? Well, we're out and about. You can have my email, my direct phone number, and I'll point you in the direction of people even in your communities. Y'all might not come to my community often, but I'm in y'all community a lot. Positively now. It went over your heads. Is it better to be loyal or get a wider experience? You have this value system. Again, I hate to keep putting Mark on the spot. I believe, based on my conditioning, that you get accused of something, you're supposed to pay bail, and they'll hold your money until you go through with the court case. What, in reality, that money does not guarantee that I'm going to not just blow trial. It doesn't. We'd like to convince ourselves that that's what it means, but it doesn't. Some people do show up, beat the case, get their money back, but it is not etched in stone. When he told me that, my thought process was this value system, then it expanded. So, does it make more sense for me to be loyal to that thought process that's limited, or does it make more sense to get a wider experience? That's what I want to present to you all today, a wider experience. Who are your competitors? There are none. If we're identifying as the freedom community, there is no competition. There's just varying and differences of opinion. That's it. That's it. Even if they have the same exact information that you have, they can choose to say, I disagree. There's no fight there. We don't have to compete there. I'm going to put the energy in the place where I can get the maximum impact for the freedom community. How are they learning and evolving? When Shara Goodman, that was on that panel, we started doing a lot of stuff together because I showed up at gun events, giving out information about firearm safety and gun locks and mental health, organizations and stuff like that. What Shara did, because she couldn't argue that narrative anymore, that guns are bad and they're killing everybody in urban America, she couldn't have that argument anymore. Do you know what she did? She hired a black dude my age to come combat me. I lied to you not. She hired a black dude my age to come argue anti-gun perspective against me. There's nothing wrong with that. She's doing what she thinks is best for her and her position. But what she did was she learned and she evolved. We on the freedom side have not been fast enough to adapt there. How can you spread your ideas? Communicate. We went over that. How do ideas thrive or get killed off? The quickest way that they get killed off is when you're leading with your false ego. Quickest way. I said a few things here that people initially were cringing about, and then over time you went, it kind of makes sense, right? Okay, cool. You just get out there and deal with it. I'm not leading with the false ego of you guys being mad at me because I said I made fun of you because you didn't know. Most people don't know Malcolm's name before he was murdered. It's the reality, right? But you have to just be out there and deal with it, or those ideas will, get killed off. What changes in the environment are happening? Who will survive them and how? The changes in the environment that are happening deliberately, it's not just to happen. There are people in France somewhere, I don't know, they're above my pay grade. They are deliberately doing things to make us more and more divided. I'm on the right. I'm on the left. The only people that I see not espousing those same false principles are people that are in the middle. Freedom people. Libertarian people. I've traveled the country a bunch of times. There's a deliberate attempt to make sure it's race, it's gender, it's age, it's sex, separate, 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 separate. Nobody works together. If we do not, as freedom folks, if we do not lead by example, accept the differences that other people have, translate that respectfully, we will lose. Thank y'all for listening to me tonight. I appreciate y'all for having me.